Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I have a daughter who's 9. She comes under the autism spectrum and does need some extra help more than any other child her age. Even though she's almost 10, she needs help with small things. We're very patient with her with everything. As her parents, it's our job to be. She has a hard time sometimes differentiating between reality and fiction and vice versa. But we make sure to hear everything she has to say just to get to know her a little bit more each time. My husband and I are both a part of the workforce. He is a doctor and I work the normal office job as managerial head in a company. So sudden meetings for me and unplanned patients are something we're used to at this point. We make sure to make our daughter our first priority in everything, but work can't be ignored. Yesterday, I took a day off from work and planned to spend the whole day with my daughter baking and decorating cupcakes. I planned to meet up with some of my college friends in the evening, but it all went down the drain because my boss had to ask for the month-end report, so I had to attend the meeting. My husband was busy as well. He had some seminar to attend as some well-renowned surgeon was coming as chief guest. I tried calling the babysitters, but none of the trustworthy ones were available, and I don't want someone who is not acquainted with my daughter to take up the job. So my sister-in-law was the one I knew I could ask for help. So a little background on my sister-in-law. She's a college student, freshly turned 21, and is a YouTuber and TikToker. She uploads videos about her own life, fashion, and vlogs. She's doing pretty good in those, but her content sometimes seems highly intrusive, like she would post about her house, the route she takes for college, and every single detail about her personal life can be found on the internet. My husband and I have made sure to strictly inform us about the prohibition of filming our daughter or us under any circumstance, and she agreed to it and let out a snarky remark about our lives are not being that interesting and internet-worthy. We didn't react to it because we know how teenagers often make rude remarks, and there's no point in arguing unless she really crosses our boundary. So I asked her about the babysitting job. She was happy about it, as she had nothing better to do anyway, so she agreed. We made sure to remind her about our daughter's condition and our no filming or vlogging rule, and in return, she would be taken for lunch to the Olive Garden. Our daughter loves her aunt, and she too loves our little baby girl, so they get along just fine. Next day, I woke up, arranged things, and keep them in a place where my sister-in-law would be able to find them easily and make sure that she wouldn't have a difficult time with anything while babysitting. Her job was to play, listen to whatever facts she wanted to talk about, and order some takeaway, and I left money necessary for that too. I go for the meeting, and after getting that done, I straight go to the cafe where me and my college friends decided to meet. We had a great time together, and I returned home after 5 in the evening to my daughter and sister-in-law watching SpongeBob. After I came in, I could feel someone watching me sneakily, but I brushed it off as tiredness, so I needed to freshen up a bit. So me and my sister-in-law say goodbyes. I hand her over some food that I brought as she couldn't stay till dinner and had to return home for some work. I freshen up and the feeling of being watched subsides in the bedroom. After coming out of the bedroom again, I can again feel that feeling again, but I try my best to ignore it. After a while, I go check every window and lock to make sure no one followed me back home. I also checked the security cameras if someone snuck into my house, but I found nothing. My husband arrives in the meantime and notices my weird behavior and shrugs it off as my restlessness and too much socializing in one day. It made sense to me, so I thought maybe, and I tried to concentrate on making dinner, but that feeling kept on lingering at the back of my mind. After dinner was done being cooked, I called my husband and daughter over to the dining table to eat. We talked over dinner about everything we did and happened, and more. This all happened while I still had that lingering feeling of being watched. Everything was normal until my daughter mentioned something about my sister-in-law keeping in the kitchen closet. Then it hit me where the odd feeling of being watched was coming from. So I rush to the sink and wash my hands. Head straight to open the cabinet after searching for a while till I find spy cameras in the cabinet being fixed for recording purposes. At this point, I was fuming. I don't care the reason, but this one is unforgivable. I went back to every other place that I had that feeling of being watched coming from, and I knew who exactly did this because there is only one person who's capable of doing such things. I checked every spot and found 2 more cameras from the living room and the basement. My husband understood what was going on and helped me with some water to calm me down. I immediately called my sister-in-law to ask her about everything, like I just wanted to know what she was thinking while pulling such a feat. I called her, and she said it's really late and she can't come over now, which is reasonable, and promises to explain everything once she comes over tomorrow morning. And I warn her, if she doesn't, she will be handed over to the cops for stalking and property damage offenses. Look, I sound harsh on her, but I have my reasons to behave that way. She was informed not to film, but here, not only she filmed, but invaded our privacy. So I will stand my ground. First, she didn't want to come over and wanted to get over it just by apologizing for it over the phone. I completely refused. It's not a small thing, nor is she a small child or teenager who doesn't know what they were doing. I strictly warned her that if I don't see her on my living room sofa before 3 p.m., she will have to face the cops at her place to bring her over back to my place to explain everything to me and my husband. My husband is somewhat ashamed of what his sister did, but he can't just ignore us and let her go. So he firmly said to her to come over, or he informs everything about this to their parents, who then would stop paying for her tuitions. She got annoyed and promised to come over, or she faces the consequences. She came over at 2, looking annoyed by the whole mess that she created. We wanted to talk to her like adults do, calmly. We put our daughter to sleep because she doesn't need to know about all these talks concerning who did what and to whom. We all sat in the dining room and started asking her what was the reason to put the spying cameras, to which she simply rolled her eyes and told them they weren't live cameras but recording ones just to check out the daily lives of people. She acted so entitled, but I had kept my calm, so I just listened to her and then asked why she wanted to know about the daily lives of people. She rolls her eyes again and asks if I'm dumb, and then says that's how you make fun content for people, and that's what is going to help her stay relevant on the internet. That pissed me off. My husband then asked her about the consequences, and she went on assuring us that it's okay and no one is interested in our boring lives, so it was okay. That was it for me. I made sure to cross-question her to remind her of my daughter's condition and how confidential our work is at times. She, being herself, just acted bored, and we failed to get a sense of guilt and sorry from her. So we had to step up and threaten her to call the police and inform our parents so they can make sure that she goes for an actual job to pay her own tuition money. And inform them about this awfully dangerous life she has been living, and I made sure to ask for the money she once borrowed from me and press charges for everything. She starts to cry and starts emotionally blackmailing her brother about everything. After we calm her down, we make her sign a legal agreement for not filming us further under any circumstances. She complies. That's all for now, honestly. So basically, she apologizes after knowing that she would lose everything, but not from the fact that she actually crossed someone's boundary and put them in danger. And she was vlogging someone's life without informing them. Like, what the crap? OP, I hope you force charges against her. Known or unknown, it doesn't matter. It is a completely illegal thing to do, and then she sounds entitled about it? I don't know how much money she's going to get from there, but she should get some morals first, honestly. NTA, she deserves it, and she deserves a lot worse too. She is literally 21 and should know the consequences. So basically, the sister-in-law is an entitled brat who has 0 sense over life. Basic influencer behavior. No, but seriously, what is wrong with all these people? Not only does she think putting other people's life in danger is okay, but also puts her own family's life in danger. And their daughter? She already needs extra space, and she is just ruining it for her. Like I would seriously suggest cutting her off and not keeping any ties with her. She needs to learn better.
Next story.
So I'm a 29-year-old woman and my husband is 31. Both have a rags to riches story. I have 3 brothers and both parents, while my husband was orphaned and was raised by his grandparents, who are now dead. Me and my husband are both from low-income families and became working students in order to pay for our college fees and hope for a better life. And thankfully, we did get out of the gutter. I now earn less than my husband. His monthly earnings is 5 times as much as I earn. Since he was raised from a conservative household, he insisted that all expenses in our house should be covered by him, since he's the man of the house. And it was never an issue between us because we both had a discussion about it. Since his grandparents are now gone, he tries to spoil me now by buying me these designer bags 3 times a year, during my birthday, Christmas, and our anniversary. I would sometimes post these stuff on my social media account as an appreciation post for him. I never asked him for any of these, but I'm always thankful since I know how proud he is of himself, because he can now buy stuff like these. I don't ask him for my personal things since I have my own job and own money, especially since he's the one who pays everything in the house. When I became pregnant, my husband and I agreed that I'll be stopping work for a while since we badly want a baby, and I sadly already got 2 miscarriages from before due to too much stress from work. It was a mutual decision that I'll get back to work when our daughter is already 3 years old, since I want to be more hands-on, especially that she's still a kid. She's 6 months old now. Now, one of my brothers got into immense debt due to his addiction, and by immense debt, I mean an amount totaling my husband's 1 year's salary. And right now, he's asking me to pay all of it as help because we're siblings and he still has little kids and he would go to jail if the debt can't be paid for. I then explained to him that I'll help if I could, but due to me being jobless for a while, I don't really have much money enough to vouch for him. He told me to just sell all my bags or ask my husband to pay for it. I told him that that's absurd, and the most I can do is take care of his kids and pay for their education and other needs. He told me that he knows I have savings from work, and why couldn't I touch it? My savings are meaningful in case my marriage falls apart or anything happens to my husband. In that way, me and my kids could survive on our own. He kept on insisting how selfish I am, and that I don't know how to look back or recognize family. The other reason why I don't want to ask my husband is because he told me before that he didn't really like my brother because of his addiction. So, AITA, NTA, your brother is not entitled to what you earned and saved. You're doing the wise thing by ensuring that you have savings in the event of something bad or unexpected happening. Don't light yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. NTA, tell brother that his debt and addiction is his problem to manage, and this is a perfect opportunity to work on both. I know of where I speak, as I've been in the recovery for 20-ish years now, and would never have taken steps to get sober if my family of origin didn't tell me to piss off until I got sober. Please remember that your family and priority now is your daughter and husband. Everyone else comes second in your life now, and you should tell your brother that as well. It may be a good example to him of what a parent is supposed to do for their children. He needs to learn that his behavior directly affects his children, and if you bail him out, you're taking that opportunity from him. Good luck, and congratulations on your wee one.
Next story.
I'm a 35-year-old woman, and I'm married to Jane, 37, and she has a son from another marriage, Connor, 14. They moved in with me, and Connor spends weekends with his dad. Jane decided to take a year sabbatical after an exhausting year. She was a hospital nurse, and maybe start again at another job after that period. We agreed that I would shoulder the expenses as it wouldn't be a financial burden on me, so I took over the things Jane paid for, like school, household expenses, and giving Connor an allowance. Connor and I don't have the best relationship, even though I've known him since he was 7. He still has the idea that I was the reason for his parents' separation, and not the fact that his mother had always been a lesbian, and we only met when the divorce was to be signed. But okay. He put the coin that I wasn't his mother, and that's why I didn't have to educate him, but he started to respect me more after I became the only income in the house. So, I got home from work, and Connor was sitting in the living room with his friends playing games. When he saw me, he came and said, "Give me $50 to go out with my friends." Didn't ask, just demanded. When I started asking what his money was for, he started saying that I wasn't his mother, so I told him to at least be polite and ask. He asked this time, and I gave in. I hadn't even gone that far when I heard him say to his friends, "It's a pain in the ass to depend on this fag for that." I came back, demanded the money back, and said that we would talk later. I talked to Jane about what happened, and she gave me the go-ahead to decide what to do. We both sat with him, and I said that I would no longer pay him an allowance to go out with his friends. I would continue to give him lunch at school, and because of the disrespect he showed me, I wouldn't pay for the trip he would take with the class that I hadn't paid yet. He even tried to play up the fact that I'm not his mother, but just Jane stayed by my side. After all, it wasn't the first time he'd mistreated me. And if he really wanted to go, he could just ask his father. He left angry, calling me various things, and ended up telling his father, who started to annoy me about doing this with his son. He can't afford the trip. Lots of other things not worth mentioning. Connor isn't talking to me. I'm not cutting back on what I promised my wife. I'm cutting back on the treats she gave, and I didn't care to pay until I was respected. AITA? NTA. As you say, his father can pony up the money for him. He doesn't deserve any extras when he treats you this poorly. I'm glad Jane is on your side in this. He needs to learn some respect, but I don't expect this will happen. I would wonder if his father contributes to his poor attitude towards you and your wife. NTA, you are more than fair, but I do think the kid needs therapy to deal with the double whammy of gay mom and divorce. He's a kid, but that doesn't excuse bad behavior, and it would be worthwhile to have more in-depth conversation on his homophobic comments, because that's absolutely unacceptable. Like, he really needs to reflect on that, and definitely consider that a lot of this might be the dad being in the kid's ear.